Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back in the studio today on a Friday with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore, and our resident engineer, Mike Herzog. Yes, so we tried something a little different. We've actually been doing this show for 2 years now, and we've never all three of us been on at the same time. So I just thought that'd be kind of cool today. And Mike is back from a trip to Southeast Asia. And I want to hear a little bit of how that went.
Yeah. I'll fill you guys in. So just got back this week. That's why I missed the last Wednesday and this regular Wednesday show too. So it's great to be here on a Friday, and the gang's all here. That's good. But no, I was doing some training courses for their utility, their main utility in the city of Kuala Lumpur, and then on the island of Borneo, one of their states over there, their utility in that space. So it was great trip, wonderful place, very, very modern cities, clean, industrialized, awesome, friendly people, great food. So if it's not on your list, it's a good place to go. But the meat of when I was over there, very, very interesting stuff. They are just starting on the EV adoption curve. So I think Kuala Lumpur is 7 million people, 10 million people, depending on where you encounter, but it's
small town.
Yeah, right now they've got 30,000, 35,000 true EVs on that grid. And I think they're close to doubling that, through the first 10 months of the year already, and then they're about to take off. So it was an interesting space to see them and where they're at, and kind of they're very, very advanced in their planning and modeling and how they want to incorporate everything. But most of what I was there to tell them was like, yeah, I think you should probably be a little bit worried. Yes, your numbers are really, really going to spike here. So it was fun to see. It was fun to see brands we don't get to see here. At the mall, they had a Zeekr sitting right there.
Nice.
That I got to see. On the island, they're one of the domestic car manufacturers is Proton.
Okay.
It's a brand, and they're introducing an all EV model, all electric model that's coming out. Their government's about to lift some restrictions on tax credits, and because they have domestic manufacturing, kind of opening up the world to new vehicles out there. But it is an absolutely prime market for just blowing up in adoption. I mean, they are about to hit the exponential curve, and it's going to go very, very quickly. Something really interesting, they operate their grid pretty differently than we do, where they have much more redundancy built in by law. So if it's over a certain load, like for us, a Walmart, I always use Walmart as a good example. People know what that is, but anything bigger than a Walmart has to have full 100% backup power redundancy through a different connection. So where they're at, they have a lot of margin on their system because of that, but they're using it for backup. So it's kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do. The big challenge, one of the big challenges they see too, that we don't necessarily get in our part of the country, is high-rise condos. I mean, everybody in the city just 20-story condos everywhere you can see, and they have dedicated parking for most of them. So it's really, that's one of the challenges they have of, well, what happens when the 1,000 people that live in this condo all of a sudden decide that they're going to put in EVs?
They want EVs,
in that space. But yeah, very, very interesting.
35,000 is still, what do we figure? We have 5,000 in the Omaha metro area, I think we were told. So that's still 7 times as many as we have here, right? Of course, the population is massive. I mean, that's
big population.
The one city is about 4 times the size of the entire state of Nebraska population-wise. Yeah. But still, it's just fascinating to see that. So you're saying they have to have redundancy. So does that mean they have like a big battery storage?
No, they have wires. They've got extra wires and extra facilities and equipment like that. That's all built into their grid. And ready to go. So that is one of the considerations that they're looking at is, what is battery backup an option? How can we utilize this on our system a little bit better?
So what's their primary generation source? I'm assuming it's probably maybe natural gas, or is it
natural
coal?
gas?
Natural gas?
big on natural gas.
Yeah.
The island is almost all natural gas with a little bit of hydro, and then the mainland, a lot of natural gas. They also have quite a bit of coal in the region. So some of the other nations are really, really heavy on coal. So when we talk about, United States, Europe, our coal production has gone down like
Down,
this.
yeah.
They're going straight up
Yeah.
to accommodate all the growth that they have.
Well, we know that's happening in India and China, but
Yep.
they both feel that they are going to peak out by 2030 and then start cutting back. But, it's one of those things I talk about before. It's like, who am I to tell somebody you can't burn coal when we've been doing it for 100 years?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we've achieved an economic prosperity that they're just trying to catch up with. No, that's really a fascinating trip to see that.
Yeah, we'll see. I think probably more opportunities in there. I'd be curious on some of the other things, because comparatively to where we're at, the number of scooters and motorcycles on the road, I mean, it's crazy. And weaving in and out of traffic constantly. But other nations around there, Thailand and Vietnam and Indonesia specifically, I mean, that's the main mode of transportation, and they're seeing hundreds of thousands of those already developing on their system.
And these are gas powered or electric?
Electric. They're moving
electric. Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's very the e-bikes and e-scooters and e-motorcycles in that part of the world are going to be big business coming up here very quick. And then they are already in some of the spots.
What were some? I don't suppose you've seen any of the alternative technologies there, like like Neo or anything like that, or the battery swapping technologies.
No, they're not seeing that yet. They're not quite seeing that. Pretty traditional from what we've seen, but it is very, very heavily influenced by Chinese manufacturers in that technology space.
Yeah.
So for those grid infrastructure, were they more concerned about DC chargers or level 2 charging?
Mostly home charging,
Okay.
home charging, because they're kind of, it's the same thing we see in areas, just that last little leg, almost between your house and the transformer and system, I would say very relatively undersized compared to what we might have here to the rest of their grid. To the point, we're USA, we're big power hogs, as individual consumers in the world. So theirs are much smaller from what they've seen. So their individual power demands compared to us. So their services are smaller. So that level 2 charger going in somebody's garage or in a parking garage type situation that's going to be kind of their front line of a lot of replacements potentially coming up.
So what's their standard there? Is it like Europe where you got 240 and 50 hertz?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Very, very similar to European standards. So they're a little bit better shape from that standpoint, keeping current down and everything. But it's still, it's going to be a challenge when that starts to come up, because there's no diversity factor with that. One car charging is enough to put some services over. So you can't really do much with it aside from playing around it.
Okay.
But
all right.
It's interesting. I mean, it's fun to see how fast they're about to take off and how they're going to handle it.
What was the mix on the road? So here you never see a 3-wheel. Well, I shouldn't say never. You might see a slingshot once a month. Okay, that'd be the only 3-wheeled vehicle you see. You don't see a lot of 2-wheeled vehicles here on the road, whether it be
it's the odd motorcycle. Yep.
Yeah. What were you seeing there?
1 out of 4, 1 out of 5. I mean, it wasn't as prevalent like you see in Vietnam and places like that, where it's packs of 50 of them, going down the road. But it was still very, very prevalent. And with the traffic and the laws around weaving in and out of traffic and driving down the center lane, I mean, it would be a much, much faster form of transportation because you can avoid that.
What's their public transit like?
Very good. Very good. They have train, good bus systems, things like that.
Okay.
What were you seeing for like the size of the vehicles there? I realize they're probably a smaller people in the United States?
Same as us. I mean, some Toyota, a lot of Toyotas, a lot of Hondas, a lot of Protons, which is their
The indigenous, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Honda CRV, Toyota RAV4 size vehicles, a lot of those, a lot of big vans moving through, but it wasn't the tiny little cars, smart car kind of size. I mean, it was traditional, what I would call traditionally sized vehicles compared to us.
Full size pickups?
No.
that would be my next question. Yeah.
Suburbans?
That's unique to us. Yeah.
Suburbans?
No. Well, they did have. I wish I knew the brand of it or the specific model, but really good sized Toyota vans. I bet they were 10-seaters. They were tanks driving down the road. There was quite a few.
Okay. Probably with lots of people in them.
Lots of people in them. Yeah, not just the one.
Not just the driver.
Yeah. Suburban or a giant pickup. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just different, right? I tell people all the time. It's hard to imagine the United States is the most mobilized four-wheeled country on the planet, and that the rest of the world just isn't like the U.S., in that regard. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of our news stories. So let's start out. This one's kind of funny. So, the federal EV tax credit went away. So a state jumped in here with a $2,500 state credit on EVs. Who do you think it is? This is really funny. It's like, I'll just give you a hint. They're not on the left coast.
I saw the headline up there, so I'm not.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess I do have it on the headline. It makes it tough. It's just hard to fathom that it was Texas, of all places. Mm-hmm. Texas introduced a $2,500 EV tax incentive after the federal credit ended. And now they don't have that $80,000 limit, I don't think. And so pretty much it looks like all EVs and hydrogen-powered cars. Of course, who's going to have a hydrogen-powered car in Texas? There's no hydrogen stations, right? So get a $2,500.
That's wild. And that's the state? The state level put that out?
It's the state one. Yeah. Yeah. So, of course, Tesla does a lot of manufacturing there, right? So it's beneficial to them, but it's going to help everybody. And the statement just kind of, I don't know. I thought that was kind of shocking that Texas, of all people, was the one that went in with the EV tax credit. Yeah. All right. Bill, you've got an exclusive on the new Toyota FT-Me shared mobility concept car.
Yeah, that's interesting. The idea is that the British government funded 15 million pounds, and being matched by Toyota 15 million pounds to build this little mini car. And basically it would be, I think over in France, you would consider what's called a quadricycle. Top speed of 45 kilometers per hour, which is 8 miles per hour, something like that. Range somewhere around 60 miles. Curious that there are no pedals. All the controls will be in the steering. I can't call it a wheel because it's not round, apparently. From the one photo I found, it's actually sort of rectangular. And so you're going to be doing this. It's drive-by-wire, so there is no mechanical linkage between the wheels and the steering column. It has two tabs. If you look on the thing there, to the right and left of the center are two tabs, and you use those tabs to control your forward speed and your braking. I'm guessing there's probably somewhere in there too there's a reverse, although I couldn't find any reference to it. This is all just early development. I'd say probably a lot of these images that they have are CGI, created images. What's curious is that this is between the British government and Toyota, but you'll notice Toyota, being a Japanese company, obviously, their steering columns are always on the right side of the vehicle, and the same as Britain. The steering columns are on the right hand. You'll notice in that illustration, where's the steering column?
It's the left side.
It's on the left side. So they obviously going to have some kind of a compromise, I think. So I don't know what Toyota designed this for, what market originally. It would either be European or American, wherever, or Southeast Asian. I think most of the Southeast Asian countries are still using
They're still on the right. Yep.
the American standard.
British colonies. Yeah. So that's where they drive.
So, well, okay. So you were in Borneo. Which side do they drive on the wheel on Borneo?
Right side. Yeah.
The right
wheel
side?
on the right side, drive on.
Oh, okay.
On the right
So they're following that. Okay.
Yeah.
So who did Toyota or whoever did the artwork on this? Who'd they design it for? I don't know. But it's a curious. And of course, the article that I came across this in talks about it being a car for teenagers.
Yeah, I was going to say that looks an awful lot like the control my kid uses to play Mario Kart.
Right, exactly.
That way. I mean, it's a lot like that.
But my thesis is that no, that's not really being developed for teenagers. That is an intra-urban mobility vehicle, and probably for a car share system. So I decided to query Google and Chat GPT and say, okay, what do you guys think? You guys, quote unquote, what's the machine think? And it seemed to agree that this will probably be some type of a shared vehicle setup that's strictly for within the urban environment. And interestingly, the British government's funding half of the research. So,
yeah, well, they're estimating it's only going to cost about £12,000.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, which is $18,000, something like that.
8 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's getting pretty small.
That's pretty tiny. It's pretty
Energy cost per 10 kilometers is about 2 cents or 2 pence.
So about 3.5 cents, something like that.
Yeah. Hourly rental rate. They'd rent it out for about £5.50 per hour.
That's all at this point. That's all speculation because
right.
They are still researching the feasibility and things. I don't know. I'm guessing that they may have built some prototypes of that vehicle. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that a lot of what we're seeing there are probably just CGI graphics that they've developed.
I've had people try to contact me about getting involved in these shared mobility projects in the UK and then wanting to do them like in South Florida and seeing how they'd work like in an area like Miami. Miami's, you have a lot of things. You've got everything from people flying in. You've got like the Bright Line Railway bringing people from other parts of Florida.
Right.
There's all these places that you probably could do shared mobility there, that there'd be a demand for people taking that vehicle rather than doing Uber or Lyft. And having one of these at £12,000, that's a pretty attractive price point for somebody to get into that market. And your AI was even suggesting that the payback period would only take a year.
Right. Yeah. Depending on if you go with sort of the typical shared car utilization rate, which is about 6 hours a day, and you charge people, $25 per every time they use the car or something, whatever. It could pay for itself fairly quickly.
Yeah,
that's why I don't think it's a teenager's car. I don't think parents are going to take and buy this thing and just let their kids commute back and forth to school in it.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool little deal. All right, so the chairman of Toyota, what is it? Is that Mr. Toyota?
Toyota, yeah, Mr. Ikeo Toyota.
Yeah, he says the EVs pollute more than hybrids. I thought that's.
I saw that headline pop up too. Yeah, very.
Yeah, and he's claiming that, and he argues that one EV pollutes as much as 3 hybrids because higher emissions from making batteries in Japan's fossil fuel heavy grid.
Okay.
So where are they? So I'm assuming
exactly how that
I'm assuming they're relying heavily on coal being imported from what, Indonesia or something? Did they have that many
I don't
coal
know Japan's
deposits?
grid
It could
makeup.
be.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
I can see some of that, I guess, but it's also, you take it with a grain of salt, just because Toyota is so highly leveraged in the hybrid.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
that
Yes,
is their bread
exactly.
and butter right
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
if I'm the chairman, it turns out, hey guys,
Yeah.
my product's actually a lot better than everybody else's.
Yeah. And here's the other thing we could probably touch on too, is that they're finding that plug-in hybrids, which have a, as long as you plug them in and use them in that, likely they're going to be great. They're finding out, however, that plug-ins hybrids are only being plugged in and utilized as they're supposed to be about 27% of the time. The rest of the time they're running off their internal combustion engine.
So people just aren't charging them?
They aren't charging them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're forgetting to plug them in. Yeah,
that's funny.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, that's why you got to plug in hybrid for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you would get the vehicle.
Right.
And all you need, because I've had a plug-in hybrid, and all you do, is you just plug it into a 110 outlet, and since most people's cars sit 10 to 12 hours a day. Okay. Mm-hmm. Sit in the garage, sit out on the driveway, sit out on getting on power to the street would be probably a problem, but plenty of time for, even at a, 110 volt, 60 amp, kind of a circuit, you can get pretty much most of the charging you need, because most cars are driven roughly about 40 miles a day anyway, as an average. And that's enough time over 12 hours, even at level 1, to put most of that charge back in the vehicle.
Yeah, well, so according to the Argonne National Labs here in the United States, most EVs in the U.S. break even on emissions at about 19,500 miles. So that's similar. I mean, the UK model shows a similar amount. Let me see. In the West Virginia, where coal dominates, the Model Y emitted less CO2 per mile, 149 grams versus 177 grams. That's versus a Prius plug-in hybrid. So they're saying so most of the United States isn't coal dominant. You got a couple states that are. I mean, even Nebraska's coal dominant, right? But it's like, what is it? Like 40% of Nebraska power or something like that. Yeah. But in places probably like Pennsylvania, West Virginia, where you have that kind of play.
And I've lived in both of them.
Yeah.
2.5 years in West Virginia and 2.5 years in Pennsylvania and 5.5 years in West Virginia, in the middle of the coal fields. So I'm quite familiar with it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it says in California with a cleaner grid, it's only 80 grams of CO2 per mile for a Model Y versus 130 for the Prius. Yeah, it's half of what it is in West Virginia. Yeah, so the coal does definitely make a difference, but in theory, it's still operating more efficiently, right? Burning coal through the power plant than it would be, running gas through your car.
Yeah.
Yes, it's interesting that somebody like that is, putting that kind of misinformation out. But I don't know. It's certainly not. It's possible it could be more in some situations with their coal situation, but it's still unlikely. It's certainly not 3x.
No,
right?
And
So
I'm sure they can find the same example of heavy coal plant or heavy coal region in this specific area, this specific parking lot. It is three times more.
All right. So, Bill, we were talking about this Xpeng flying car last week, I think it was, and they've already gotten 600 orders in the Middle East for this flying car. Yeah, Well, we had a picture of somebody sitting in one, but we really haven't gotten good images of the product. But they call it the land aircraft carrier because there's two parts to it.
Right.
There's an electric
right,
SUV, a flying
right.
car, and also a pickup truck. And I guess it all depends if everything's connected. I don't know. I'm anxious to get more pictures of the.
Yeah, you don't have a photo of it yet?
Is it
Well,
EV?
you got this. Well, you got this picture, but it looks more, and it says Xpeng, but it seems like it's AI generated. It doesn't strike me that it is the realistic image of this. Hold on, let me see if I
Can
can
you bring it up?
here. I've been trying. My computer
Oh,
is going
okay.
slow. Yeah, here we go.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So we
Yeah,
got
well,
this and this. So apparently this is. I'm
yeah,
just not sure that this is really what it is. I
Yeah,
can see people buying it just to have the six-wheeled.
Yeah, I am guessing that's somebody's daydream and a little artistic imagination. I don't think they've actually got something like that flying at this point. I mean, what that would be great for is like some kind of rescue service, right? Where you've got one of those tall, apartment buildings on fire, and you got to evacuate people. Well, maybe you can, send that up to the top of the building and either deliver firefighters up there or rescue personnel or something like that. There's probably uses for something like this, but I can't think of any real sort of personal consumer level. I mean, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're buying a six-wheeled carrier vehicle for a 8-bladed gyrocopter type of thing. I
don't know. That just seemed a little weird. Though we've talked before how in China they expect to have 100,000 personal eVTOLs operating by 2030. So in the next 5 years, and it's probably one of those things where there's going to be in 29 there's going to be like 70,000 of them sold, kind of thing. There probably won't. It's going to be a bit before there's probably any of them really going. But it's just hard to fathom 100,000 of them.
Well, yeah. Can you imagine the air traffic control issues?
Oh yeah.
Over a town like Beijing or Guangzhou or Shanghai. Yeah, that's maybe scientifically, and we get to the point to where you got automated, robotic controlled air control and things of that nature. I guess quite sci-fi kind of a future, but practically, I don't.
That's all of V2X, right? I mean, V2X is communication, between vehicles, between everything.
Right.
So as that develops with cars, I mean, you could apply it to it. Be flying them to come. Yeah. The first thing, seeing that van, I mean, that looked an awful lot like a Transformer. So I don't know if you're saying Optimus Prime in there. It goes from a truck to a eVTOL.
Yeah. Well, it's just wild seeing all these changes. In aviation, don't you have some aircraft that fly at 1,000 feet intervals and some are like at the 500?
Yeah, you've got an upside down wedding cake depending on the density of the air traffic moving into and out of particular things. So in some there's Class A airspace, Class B, C, D. I think we're maybe at E or G at this point. I don't remember exactly. But you've got the way they do this is from the ground up to 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet, something like that. There's a corridor around the airport, and then that wedding cake broadens out to a little higher for 5,000 feet, and then so on up to about, I think, 18,000 feet is the top layer of the cake. After that, you're actually in ATC controlled airspace, which most aircraft, general aviation aircraft, will fly in, particularly in a VTOL. But there's probably enough electronics that can be built into all this thing that would route audit. You just say, hey, I need to get to my daughter's wedding at XYZ coordinate and take the wife and I there. And the thing lifts off and it flies and it knows where all the corridors are and it flies through those corridors. So, I mean, we sort of have that issue here. We have, just due east of us. Let's see. Dave and I both, we have a major, military Air Force base about 7 miles that direction from us. But then also about 10 miles that direction is our big major airport. And so those control areas kind of overlap, and you very frequently have people flying private aircraft that are flying actually over or through the airspace that's reserved for a major military installation, right? So how all that works in the context of, a growing fleet of personal EVs, I don't know. We're going to have to see how that works out.
Well, some of the ones that we've looked at have looked more like a snowmobile with sitting on a quadcopter.
Right.
Just basically you're just sitting out there. You don't have a windshield, or they probably put some kind of windshield on there because I always take a bird to the face or something like that. But I'm just saying some of these are
just don't fall between those whirling blades around you.
Right. I'm just saying that I would picture you couldn't fly it above 500 feet on these things or something like that. You'd have to stay.
Well, you'd probably have to be in the same range as the quadcopters and things that we fly around with little cameras and things in them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fly above a certain thing. And that could be programmed into the onboard computer that will, just, hey, I need to get to my daughter's wedding and it's over at this point here. Take me over there, but make sure I'm legal. So that could probably all be done. But wow, is the air traffic control system up to that at this point?
Well, isn't it like 150 feet on the photo drones? On the on that kind of thing?
It depends. Some of them, if you have a transponder on it, it's a little bit more liberal operation. But maximum altitude, I think, is 200 or 300 feet.
Okay.
AGL above ground level. So, something like these copters that we're talking about, people carrying type. Probably would have some kind of a ceiling put on them. You want to keep them out of general aviation, particularly out of commercial and military operations. I mean, we have military flights go on around us, all the time because we've got a couple of Air Force, I won't say what kind, but a couple of Air Force aircraft that have very specialized missions that they fly, and this is their home base. So you have to, you have to be controlling, make sure you're not interfering, as well as all the commercial flights that are moving in and out. When airplanes fly from Omaha to Denver, they go right over our houses because that's the route they take. So where people carrying quadcopters fit into all that, I think that all still needs to be worked out. And I imagine there's going to be a significant amount of regulation and electronic controls that will govern, how they operate and where they operate.
Where do I charge my EV toll?
Oh, just easy in your garage.
There
you got a 110. You got a 110 out in the garage. You just unplug your radial saw, out of it.
Yeah.
Plug your VTOL in. Now it may have to sit there for a few weeks.
Yeah, or I can just grab and attach all of my weed eater batteries.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Need some extra juice? Just grab a whole bunch of them. You're running 100 batteries from weed eaters.
Well,
there, leaf blowers.
Yeah, my photocopier. I've got one of these little things. It's under the 255 gram limit. Above 255 gram, then you have to have more certification and has to have a transponder on it. But I have one that's below 255 grams, so it's more like a flying camera, right? And I can't take that above 300 feet. AGL, above ground level. I have to stay below. And it actually won't go. They have electronics built into them so that they won't go above 200 feet.
Okay.
My particular one. So they'll fly. That's plenty. I can get some really great views of the surrounding community. Just take it up to its limit, slowly make it spin around while I'm taking photographs or taking video. And you get a really nice view of the surrounding community in it.
So I got something that's a little different. We had our Katie Sasanov from Tritium on the show a month or so ago, and he posted something that I thought was worth sharing. He posted this. So this is in, let me see, it tells me where, Perth, Australia. So on the western coast of Australia.
Yeah.
So there's 30 Mercedes EV trucks here plugged into 15 chargers. This is an off-grid setup. There's 4.4 megawatts of solar. That's what, about 22 acres of solar.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And they've got 10.4 megawatt hours of battery storage. Now, that amount of battery storage should be able to hold enough without the sun being out that it could charge all of those batteries and give them 300 kilowatts or 300 kilowatt hours. So I thought, that's an interesting way.
These are all local, look like delivery vans of some type.
Yeah, but it's all it's an all electric, all off grid setup. And
wow,
yeah,
nice.
I just thought that was pretty fascinating. I mean, we've seen something like this for Tesla, where Tesla has done this out west, but it's just a car setup.
Right.
And these are obviously, bigger trucks, bigger batteries. I don't know that they have that kind of battery pack on these, but these being local delivery trucks, they probably don't have more than 150 kilowatt battery pack, I bet. But, I really don't know.
I don't know. That's just so cool to see, because the people talked about that application for such a long time and what ifs, but now people actually putting it into practice, and yeah, it works. It just works the way you think it would work. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's it's kind of exciting to see that. So people will say, well, the grid can't handle this. Well, this isn't connected to the grid, right?
Not connected.
No.
Yeah. So
and Western Australia, you probably get plenty of sunshine out there. I don't know what
predictable sun.
Yeah.
Most of the year. I was about to say that, but then I looked at the picture and it was cloudy in the picture. So
yeah.
God, I bet they get sun all the time.
Yeah. So China has built the world's largest solar park in Tibet, 10 times the size of Manhattan. Now, we previously had the world's largest solar farm was in India. So this one's supposed to be even bigger. But it's in the Tibetan plateau. Now, the thing I don't get about that is, where are they sending that energy? It's generating almost 17 gigawatts of electricity. It'll grow 10 times to cover 10 times the size of Manhattan within 3 years. It's at 10,000 feet above sea level.
Yep.
The thin air allows the solar panels to absorb more sunlight than they would at lower elevations. But my issue with this is most of the cost of electricity is transmission and infrastructure. It's not, the cost to make it. So I'm not sure what they're proving here. I mean, what's your thought, Mike?
I bet it comes with a big transmission line.
I'm sure.
Generating that much. I mean,
and what's the closest major metropolitan area to that? That would be Western India, obviously, southwestern India, not India, southwestern China.
I don't know, but it's if they're growing everywhere, I mean that's one of the areas that, if I'm thinking about it correctly, is pretty rural as it is today.
Yeah.
So maybe that's infrastructure is growing very quickly, and this is to meet the rising demand, that they're looking at. Otherwise, it's build a couple hundred miles of transmission to get it somewhere. But it's Yeah, if they have local use for it, fantastic. That's great. If you have to ship it somewhere through lines, then you're what do you
it's
gain?
kind of a moot point, right? Yeah. Well, it's one of the things I think most people don't understand about energy is you have a certain cost to produce the energy, but it's that infrastructure to get it to the end customer that really makes a big difference. And so when people are talking about, even if they're able to make this electricity for 2 cents a kilowatt, if it costs them 20 cents a kilowatt to transmit it,
get it to people who need it, then
right. That's the issue you get into in places like California. Well, actually, I'm going to get into. I've got another solar story, but this one also came from LinkedIn. Somebody's talking about how the government's own data rebuts what the Trump administration claims about wind and solar prices. And
that's easy.
Yeah, I get that, but this is looking at the share of electrical supply derived from wind and solar and the state's average retail electricity price. Well, Iowa's first. They got 52% of the electricity comes from wind and solar. And
I would say
52%
50% comes from wind.
Wind,
yeah.
Right. No, I get it. South Dakota, the same thing, 52%, 11.7 cents. Then you get to California, 51% of their electricity is from wind and solar, but they're at 28 cents. And the difference is there, none of, the population isn't near where the green technology is at, right? It's generally a long ways away. New Mexico, 49% of their electricity, 9.9 cents. Kansas, 12.1 cents. We see Colorado gets most of it. Oklahoma's still pretty good. It is funny because you think of Oklahoma as being a big gas state, right? Mm-hmm. And 39% of their power is from wind and solar, 10 cents is the average retail electric price. Let me see. Nevada's cheap. Maine, 22 cents for electricity, but 36% of their power comes from this. But when you get up into the the Northeast United States, a lot of them, they just have high prices for infrastructure, right? I think there's something different about the infrastructure costs there. Maybe it's, I don't know.
A lot of it's Maine specifically, where they've had a lot of issues. And if I'm thinking about it right, they got big trouble a few years ago. Some of their big utilities, with metering and challenges like that. So I think Maine is kind of an odd duck from some of the pricing out there. Because a lot of it's you get some power from over the border that's hydro, a little bit better pricing on that. But I think Maine got themselves into some trouble a few years back, so they're a little artificially high from a price standpoint.
Well, let's see, and then Hawaii. Now Hawaii's 30-something percent renewables, but they have 36-cent cost for electricity. But the thing is, everything is, it's islands, right? And so one island's probably not supplying the electricity for the next island, and so it's really
anything that's not renewable is coming in and has that high import cost.
And then you have just simply the duplication of facilities. Each one is an independent energy system. You can't have one centralized power system on the island of Hawaii, tapping into the geothermal from Kilauea and distributing that across all the other islands. It's just not happening. Every island has to have its own system of generation and grid.
Yes. Let me see. It's interesting. Texas, 10 cents. You think of Texas once again being a big oil state, but a third of their power comes from solar and wind. And aren't they in second place for solar and wind behind California, I think?
Yeah.
North Dakota gets a third of their power from solar and wind, and they're at 8.7 cents average. Nebraska comes in 17th place down here at 26% of our grid being wind and solar, and ours is 10 cents. Oh, it doesn't give us other figures, but anyways, obviously most states that use a high amount of wind and solar are fairly inexpensive. And, it's good to see what those numbers really look like. Let's see. Oh,
Hey,
so
Mike, why are we, given our resources, why are we relatively low on the scale compared to Oklahoma or Kansas?
Compared to our direct neighbors in that space, Nebraska is unique in that we're a public power state.
Right.
So for the 20-aughts and through 2010s, when Iowa was booming, Missouri, South Dakota, they could take advantage of the production tax credits and all of the credits and subsidies and incentives to put in wind that Nebraska couldn't take advantage of because our utilities don't pay taxes. We do have payments in lieu of taxes, but because we're entirely government entities, we didn't do that. So just recently, within the past couple of years, they maybe even shorter than that, they put in direct pay, which allows public entities like our utilities in the state to take advantage of all of that. But for years, Iowa was just developing like gangbusters and just killed the markets because of all the government subsidies and tax credits they got out of it. Whereas Nebraska, we couldn't take advantage, so we didn't develop wind.
That was because Mid-American is a commercial entity as opposed to a public utility.
Yeah, so they get all those benefits and reduced taxes out of it, and we don't pay taxes. They for 15 years they were putting in wind when we weren't putting hardly anything in. That's why all those numbers around us, Iowa, the Dakotas, Missouri, I mean, it's all wind, especially Iowa. I mean, it's all wind that they put in.
Yeah,
it's interesting to see how those work out. The planning with the government on rebates and different things and tax credits. And it's like, it's funny that Nebraska just kind of missed out on the whole big picture, right? It's strange how some of this plays out, isn't it? All right, let's talk about the Honda Prologue. So the Prologue is the third most popular EV in the U.S. In August, behind the Model Y and the Model 3. So that's pretty impressive. This is just SUVs, offering $12,000 in average incentives. The Honda Prologue scored big as buyers rushed to claim the federal tax credits. So a lot of that had to do with the tax credit that was ending. They had additional bonuses. Last month, buyers could get up to $20,000 in combined savings. So they had the $7,500 credit, $9,500 in financing bonuses, trade-in offers, and 0% interest for 6 years. They really went to town on trying to make that thing sell. So in August, 138,000 EVs were registered in the U.S., up 24% from a year ago. Honda Prologues surged 81% to 9,000 Prologues for the month of August. Pretty good number. They had more registrations in the Chevy Equinox in August, and it's based on the same GM Ultium platform. The Equinox is out selling the Prologue through September, though. Let's see. Although some automakers don't report monthly or U.S. sales numbers, S&P Global Mobility data offers a snapshot of sales performance. The Prologue was yet again one of the most discounted models with incentives of $12,700 in August. The previous year, it had only been $5,800, so they added $7,000 in additional incentives. And to put it in perspective, Honda's gas-powered CR-V had only $2,000 of incentives in August. But I thought that was kind of cool. We like seeing Honda doing something in the space.
I see more of them. I see
obviously them different around than what Toyota. Oh yeah.
I mean, they're popping up.
They've embraced it. We don't see that many here,
like a Honda,
but I'm sure in other parts of the country you see tons of them.
I think I'm on a delay.
All right. No, you're okay. You're okay. Let's see. Here was something I found that we had an article posted on plummeting battery prices. So we've talked about how battery prices have plummeted 90% in the last 10 years or whatever. They're expected to plummet another 70% in the next 2 to 4 years. It's really amazing how the batteries. I mean, we're going to be talking. A battery replacement is going to get down to probably like $3,000. And when people talk about that, that's a whole lot cheaper than a gas engine going out. A whole lot different situation. That the battery prices are dropping that much, and some of the companies that make batteries, Cattle, BYD, Volkswagen, have all suggested this in press releases, and that's going to definitely affect the retail prices of cars.
Yeah, I came across an article that suggested, and I'm trying to remember which it was, BYD or Cattle, one of the two, are looking at $10 per kilowatt hour. $10, and supposed to we're about 100, 115, something like that. And I can't remember exactly where I saw it. And I'm pretty sure I posted something on the site about it. But if that's the case, that completely changes the ball game. That's just, they're not even on a parity with gasoline anymore.
Yeah,
no, that's getting insane.
Yeah, that opens up the market to everything. I mean, that's mass scale transit. That's your trains. I mean, that's everything opens up at that price.
Yeah, you start talking about 100 kilowatt hour battery being $1,000.
Yeah,
I mean, that math is just crazy to think about. How cheap a car is going to get. I mean, you take all the EVs and you knock $15,000 off the price. Starts making a
dent.
Pretty big difference. Yes, it really makes a dent in the prices, regardless of whether there's subsidies or not. Anyways, this was kind of cool. We did all three of us on here. We're doing, like I said, we're doing the show for 2 years.
We got one more I want to touch on before we ring off. Did you see that Aptera has raised $75 million on the market?
No.
Yep, $75 million.
No, that's good news.
Yeah, because now we can maybe get serious about seeing that thing into production.
No, that's a big improvement. Oh, okay. So Aptera went up on NASDAQ. Is that what happened?
Well, that's probably because they raised that $75 million.
That could be how they raised the $75 million. Yep. So that they're actually a public stock now.
Yep.
SEV.
Yep.
Yeah. The solar mobility company focused on developing. This is as of yesterday. Wow. Okay. Well, good. Well, good.
Yeah, maybe we might start to see some of these things actually on the road at some. I mean, they got a lot of people who expressed interest in it, and you had even early, proto investors, I guess, to put money into it. So now we've got officially on the market where the regular financial money can start to come into this thing.
Yeah, the thing is, like Jigger Shaw said in our thing, can they start producing 400,000 a year? But do they need to make 400,000 a year? That's one of the things too. I mean, they're not, obviously Aptera is not in the traditional auto space. They're an alternative vehicle, but they certainly could replace a whole lot of cars.
Yeah, I mean, technically they're not an automobile, right? Technically, they are, I would assume, something like a motorcycle, three-wheeled motorcycle, because they're only three wheels. So that it's a different market, but maybe we're ready for that kind of a market.
Yeah, I missed that about the Aptera. That's really interesting news. We have to start following that stock to see where that one goes. I'm glad you brought that up. All right. Well, anyways, folks, that's all we got for today. Thanks, guys. I'll see y'all next week. And everyone, thanks for watching today.